Right.
As an example, let's use that as a direct example, the one you just gave, tax rates.
Yep.
As a citizen, I might ask questions like, if we raise the commercial tax rate, can we mitigate any risk to business by saying the money is going to very specifically be used for the following? And can we directly correlate that, whatever that following is, to improved economic development programming, right? So it's essentially telling business owners, you're going to pay a higher rate. For that in return, we are going to provide you with, programming or other types of resources that we estimate in X amount of time will have X amount of net growth for us, right? That could be one variation.
Yeah.
Or we make the argument that we're not going to raise these rates because right now everybody is in agreement. These are all assumptions, right? I'm putting out a theoretical scenario, not an actual one. Everybody, residential and commercial, feels like they haven't seen the biggest bang for their buck. So the first step is not to raise rates. The first step is to reassess existing programming, existing interdepartmental work at City Hall first, so that business owners and residents who buy from them see more value in the economic development that we do. And then the next step at some point down the road is, and we say to people right up front, if we make these improvements and we see X, Y, Z results, then we want to come back to you in 3 years and say, we're going to raise the rates and we want to raise them this much more. And here's why. And you can say, because these programs will, if we've already proven that they work, we want to pour more money into them. When you give people specific expectation, that gives them two things. They can now hold your feet to the fire. You said these goals were going to be this, which inherently allows you to start to build a sense of trust with them. You haven't proven anything out yet, but you're setting the groundwork for that, and they understand that you want to please them. And that's basic consumerism too. Consumers will trust you when you've given them the plan and you say, this is what we want to do to improve things, and so please buy this from me, right? That has been, as a citizen and as a person who's been on the other side of that, and as a business owner, that has been entirely missing from our process, right?
Yeah, and I think it's
more like this is another manifestation of that. We're going to have a city clerk. We're going to be really quiet about how we go about doing it, and no one's going to really be involved in it, and it'll just sort of happen, and we can get away with that because most people aren't paying attention, and besides that, it's COVID, so even less people are paying attention.
Yeah, so exactly. Now I just raised the single tax rate issue only because we're going to be voting on it. But you'd have to be a psychopath to increase to go with a higher commercial tax rate at this point with COVID out there. I mean, businesses are circling the drain anyway, so it's not going to happen now, but it's something in the future. But
not with close to 100,000 businesses nationwide out of business.
No, you can't. If anything, you lower the commercial rate. I mean, maybe somebody will come up with that one.
Listen, restaurants in Massachusetts, right? Not to get too far off the topic here. Before COVID, there were approximately 16,700 licenses to operate a restaurant or bar with food. So far, we have lost just a hair under 11,000 of them. And we have another year of this.
Yeah.
We have another year of this. So, now it presents a huge opportunity. The only thing that would make it a bigger opportunity equivalent to the last pandemic is if we had another Volstead Act at the same time. Make booze illegal.
Yeah.
And there's no restaurants. And all of a sudden, now you can have restaurants, but you got to go have speakeasies. Go. We see what that did in the United States, right?
Maybe that would actually help. So,
but, finish your point.
No, well, I was just gonna add that. So that's out the window, but it's something in a couple of years that we'd probably have to look at again, the tax rate. But it's gonna stay the same, obviously. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody, but I figure it has to because of COVID. But with the city clerk, now we were talking about separation of powers. This has to be 100% city council decision. The mayor can't have anything to do with it. I'm sorry. The mayor's, I think so far. Are you
suggesting that he's trying to?
No, I have no idea. Nobody talks to me. But I think he's been great so far. He communicates with me, which that's something new, and we get along great. So I think he's doing a good job so far from what I can see, right? But God bless him, he can't have anything to do with the city clerk because that's our role. That's our election. That's under our domain, and that keeps the separation of powers right where it should be. Now, with the city council that I don't know, do you remember, were there 7 or 8 city councils that endorsed him for mayor?
Something like that, yeah.
So
I can't remember the exact, but you're
so
good.
that kind of scares me because it seems to me that, first of all, city council has never really endorsed mayors. For you just stay out of it because you don't know who's going to win, and
Well, it's
it's
another
separation.
manifestation to me of separation of powers, right?
Absolutely, and it's just not done. I mean, for instance, like Council Walsh didn't endorse anybody because he knows how it is. It's just that's how it's been done. But you've got the so that's the we're the hated baby boomers. So whatever we used to do doesn't count anyways. So the younger people just do anything they want. But what they're
Baby
indicating
boomers.
to everybody is when you endorse the mayor and you're buddy with him and your pictures with him all the time, like a triumvirate, and you're the city council president, I'm wondering, are you working with the mayor to come up with the city clerk? God, I hope not, because that would be a disaster in my book. Because then you get a city clerk that's in there who's buddy with the mayor. You have a city clerk who's buddy with the mayor. You got a council president who's buddy with the mayor. I mean, it's great for morale. It must be great in the city hall for morale because everybody loves each other. But it's not good for separation of powers. It's not good for the citizens of Gardner because you need to keep the powers, the 2 branches, separated. And again, going back to what I was said earlier, we don't even have a freaking desk at City Hall. Like we're just like the forgotten branch of government, and all we have, our eyes and ears, is the city clerk. And Alan's been great while Hawk was mayor. He was great because they didn't exactly see eye to eye on everything, which is perfect because they got along fine, but they didn't think the same way. So Alan was like 100% city council guy, loyally, right? And it was great because I got along with the mayor most of the time, and he got along with the mayor. But that division between the branches of government was maintained beautifully by Alan, and we need that. So I'm a little worried about the process. I'm not saying that the mayor's been involved in it with the council president, but how would I know? I have no idea what's going on. Like I said, nobody responds to my emails. Nobody tells me what's going on. As far as I know, there's been.
You make it sound pretty sad, Scott Graves. Nobody
Well,
listens.
I don't know. Hey, the truth is not something to be afraid of. The truth is never anything to be afraid of. So
what we have to do, what I think we have to do is we've got to, Cam, take notes. Our trusted producer here, Cam. First of all, we should invite the mayor on to come and speak. You know, oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. We'll have him on later.
Is that Toy Story?
That was Toy Story. I'm proud. I have just infringed upon a copyright that I really shouldn't infringe upon. Really.
I probably saw Toy Story with my kids. I'd say, I don't know, 100 times.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, a little less than 20 years ago, that was like all the rage.
Such a good movie.
It is a good movie. I am sorry, Mayor Nicholson, for using that picture to tease you. I shouldn't do that because you are.
Oh, is that what you were doing? It went over my head.
That's what I was doing. Yeah. No.
So we should have the mayor on.
Seriously, we've got to start to have. I mean, after having our first guest on a couple of weeks ago, Scott and I have got the bug to have guests on the show. So, you know, that's what we should do. We have to invite the mayor on, but we shouldn't talk about the city clerk position because that in and of itself is, you know.
Well, you know what? Don't get me wrong. The mayor has every right to throw his 2 cents in and to say what he wants to do. But if I was council president, I would say, well, thank you for your suggestion, and I'll take it under advisement. But he'd have virtually no role. It's a city council role, 100%. I can't say that enough. And I think since I've been on, you can say anything you want about me, but since I've been on the city council, which is about 17 years now, I've been 100% champion for the city council. You got to stick up for the city council because nobody else will. And
Right.
it's a hugely important aspect of the government. It's like one half of the government. We have two branches and we're one of them. And so I'm jealous I'm jealous about things when it comes to the city council because you have to be. Every city councilor should be. And with all due respect to the mayor, he's got 99% of city hall that he has to worry about. He doesn't have to worry about the city clerk. That's our guy or our girl. And that's our department.
So in conclusion for this particular subject, what can the average citizen who will be listening to this in the next few days do if they want to sort of, they can't directly have an effect on who's going to become the city clerk. But now that they're aware, we assume that they've listened and go, I want to be more engaged. What can they do?
Not much because now this is a personnel decision, right? So under the public records laws, and that's chapter 66 and also chapter 4, section 7, subsection 26, which is the section that says what is a public record and what isn't. Personnel records aren't included. It's confidential. As a matter of fact, that meeting that I was telling you about earlier, if the council president decides to do something like that, it would probably be executive session, which means that it's not open to the public. So the public's not going to get to see any resumes or anything like that. So,
well, and that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting can't they, but they can let their city councilors know that this is important to them and that the process is as equally as important. That's what I would suggest to people is that the process of appointing somebody to city clerk position is as important as who gets it.
The city clerk is the most important unelected position in the city. The number one most important position, I can't say it emphatically enough, the number one unelected position at City Hall, the most important one is city clerk, bar none. So, and that's a good idea because if I was council president still, and as you know, I got booted to the cornfield, but if I was city council still, I would take all suggestions because again, there's no procedure. So like I said, the council president has to come up with the way she's going to do it. It's her call. It's all her discretion how to do it. But she could be getting emails from people saying, hey, that's a good idea. Not too long ago, Councilor Boone came up with an idea and she liked it and she adopted it. She's open to that kind of stuff. So that might be helpful to her. I don't know. Maybe she already has her procedure. I have no idea. But if I was council president, I'd welcome people to say, hey, how do you think we should be doing this?
Right.
But that's good. I mean, I think any input from the citizenry is welcomed by all of us, even if they hate something that I did. I like getting it.
In the spirit of process is equally, if not more important than the outcome. Several years ago, we had a Proposition 2.5 override vote. Okay. And at the time, I was extremely conflicted with this. So first I want to ask some questions though, just to make sure that I have my facts right. When a 2.5 override is enacted, and for those listeners that aren't sure what that means, a Proposition 2.5 override is when the citizenry, it's put to referendum and the citizenry votes to increase a certain tax, property taxes above a minimum of 2.5, a maximum rather of 2.5% in any given tax year. The money that is encompassed in a override, right? That first year, the money needs to be appropriated to the purpose in which it was voted on, right? So if somebody said, in that case, several years ago, we were told that.
Are you talking about a debt exclusion?
No, I'm talking about a 2.5 override.
Because there's two different things. There's a debt exclusion, which goes to a
partially I'm asking my question. Hold on. Partially, I'm asking my question to make sure that what I'm describing is wholly a 2.5 override and not a debt exclusion. Okay, so we voted in Gardner 3 years ago. I think it was 3, if not 4 years ago, for a Proposition 2.5 override. We were told that the money was needed for several different programs within the city, including to preserve the fine and performing arts and several other departments within the public school system. And so what I'm asking is that so we have a vote, yes or no, for 2.5 override. If it's enacted that first year, what I was told then was that first year, that money needs to be appropriated in the way it was described in the 2.5 override, vote information. In subsequent years, because because that increase in taxes exists year upon year,
Yeah.
subsequent years, and under our particular city charter here in the city of Gardner, it's at the mayor's discretion how that money can be spent, as opposed to the rest of the budget, which is at the city council's discretion. Is that true, yes or no?
Yes, it's just part of the tax levy after that. It stays at that. Yeah, it stays at that
Well, it
rate.
stays at that level, but is it entirely under the parlance of under the power of the city council to determine how it's utilized in future years? Or is that particular amount that's part of the 2.5 override not under the powers of the city council, but under the powers of the executive branch?